Hey folks, Papa Boris here, playing some more leaders. I haven't had too much time for making videos lately, but I have a little bit of time this morning. We're going to sneak in a live game up against Imperial Walrus. I think we have a very easy pick here. It's going to be a bit of a slower game. And there is the Protector here for my opponent to counter my Bruiser, but it's obviously the Bruiser here over the Archer and the Protector. Now my opponent gets the Vizier and a top deck, so it's all kind of going to be about what comes after the Vizier and then what comes after the card that's after the card that comes after the Vizier. Oh, he grabs the Protector, a very safe play. Well, this is actually fine with me. Oh, okay. Well, these are some bold drafts. I think, this is, maybe where my opponent's elo is showing, to get to 158, you got to beat some people, so they might have good tactical skills, but this draft is a bit timid. Protector, maybe. But if you're going to have one vanilla piece that just moves like at a rate of 1 hex per turn and never anything more than that, then the Archer is going to be really tough to use. And as an early grab, something a bit more explosive like the Vizier would make a lot more sense. Now, there is an interesting element here where the Illusionist is somewhat countered by the fact that my opponent's pieces can't be swapped with. So like sticking the Illusionist back here is actually not going to be very effective. But I think I'm still going to take the Illusionist over the Vizier, simply because, oh, you know what I should have done, actually? I made a mistake. Yep, no, I can't change it. I should have moved my leader up a square. I just totally forgot to move my leader. I should have moved my leader up a square, then moved my leader up another square, and then I could have swapped with the Illusionist and been here. So I just completely zoned out here. That now I can, still swap with my leader on this square, but I could have been an extra square forward. So that was just, that was me. Oh, my opponent doesn't know what he's doing. Proceeds to, forget to move a piece. That's good commentary. All right, so now I'm actually not sure what my opponent's going to take. Heck, they might even take the Nemesis for all I know at this point, though if they do, that would be an instant loss. Best here, I think, is to grab the Vizier for a little bit of slipperiness, and the Jailer is a strong character, and I do have 2 characters who both have an active ability, so you could take the Jailer here as well, have the Jailer and the Protector really shut the Bruiser down completely. So that would actually not be unreasonable as well. I liked, on my opponent's shoes, taking the Vizier here because leaving the Jailer does nothing, since the Protector, Archer, and Vizier, none of them have an active ability. So the Jailer could potentially still be the final pick in case the stuff coming out of here is duds, because you know that your opponent's not going to be taking it. At least if I took the Jailer, it would be extremely timid. I mean, maybe if something that comes up after the Vizier is really weak. Okay, like the Assassin, for example, maybe I'd take the Jailer over that. But still, I think I am going to take the Assassin here. All right, so we swap with the leader. It may have actually been more precise to put the Illusionist here so that the leader was in the middle rather than off to the side like this. And we'll just continue walking around with the Bruiser. And I think I am going to grab the Assassin here. So the idea here is that we'll use the Assassin to block off this side of the board, force the leader to go back the other way, and, my opponent could, form a wall over here with a Protector. This could be a really slow, grinding game. It is actually possible. It's actually really elementary to form a completely unbreakable wall with the Protector. I can probably even demonstrate it here. Beg your pardon, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Oh, shoot, you know what it is? I think my shortcuts, you know what I realized? My shortcuts for my annotating pen don't actually trigger this automatic chat box when I, crud. All right. they don't trigger this chat box when I'm annotating a previously played game, but when I'm doing a game that I have already, when I'm doing a live game, every time I do my shortcuts, it's going to trigger this. All right, it's fine. Well, I'll make it work. Gang. So basically, the idea is that you put your leader here, you put your Protector here, you put any other piece here and here, and then your opponent literally can't win, because the only square that they could possibly touch your leader on is this one, and without an Archer for range or an Acrobat to jump over, there's nothing they can do. Even with a Manipulator, actually, you cannot do anything. So my opponent could do that here, and unfortunately I don't have an Acrobat to mess around with. So yeah, this could just be one of those things where my opponent, actually, if they know this, I don't know how likely a low elo player is to know this. But if they do know this, then they could just completely stall the game out. All right, so my opponent's got the rider. I think it makes sense to just move up with the assassin to stop the rider from going this way. The rider will still be able to go 2 squares like this. So yeah, my leader being here instead of here is a little bit of a problem. How aggressive can I be? That's the question. Obviously, I'd like to move into the middle here. I mean, I could move here, and then I'm threatening to shove the vizier. And then the illusionist could step up. The archer could go through. The protector goes over. I can't bruise anymore. All right. Let's just form a wall here for a sec. Actually, do I want the illusionist here and the bruiser here? Because, I mean, either way, right, I'm going to have a piece here, but I could actually have either one in either square that I want. So I'm not actually sure which one is better. The bruiser being next to the protector feels kind of bad. Yeah, maybe because I don't want the bruiser next to the protector. I at least want to make my opponent work for his meal. We'll do this. I got to get my leader, try to get it over to the other side. I'll keep the bruiser where he is. I think it's a little bit ambitious to let this archer through. And here we got a bit of a soft grab. I'm going to grab the manipulator here. You know, I'm going to grab the manipulator here because if my opponent's protector abandons this post, then I could use the manipulator to shove the rider that's going to be in this spot. And if I cannot shove the rider, well, that's all right. You know, at least that means that the protector hasn't moved. Because my opponent has like a conga line they could like try to snake around here with. Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually not in love with this opening. My opponent's draft is a little bit timid, but then again, mine is pretty heavily countered by the protector since both the manipulator and the illusionist can't swap with enemy pieces when the protector is hanging around. Interesting. My opponent chooses to back off with the protector. I'm curious what the plan is, because now the vizier can't plug this hole, but the king can move really quickly. Right, the leader can just zip over and get far away from my bruiser if he wants. But, I mean, the assassin is over here. It could be that my opponent knows about this wall and is trying to do it. In that case, we'll have to do the propose to abandon the game collectively feature. Interesting. So the vizier goes here. That could be okay. And then the leader zips over there. Okay, so he's just trying to get his leader really far away from my assassin. Unfortunately, that would lose the game. Because if he does that, then I shove the vizier here and then swap with the illusionist. And it looks like my opponent caught that, which is good. That shows some good tactical ability. But yeah, I mean, my opponent can just move over here and be pretty safe. They can form a wall off the assassin. Maybe that is less appealing because then, of course, my opponent, is basically stuck having to use 2 pieces for defense. And maybe my opponent didn't like that, but then maybe my opponent realized, hey, that's better than losing the game. So that's also totally fine. Okay, so now I have some interesting choices to make. Okay, this is not a super interesting choice. I think I'm going to move up with the assassin. I guess that's sort of interesting. Which square do I put it on? I think we'll keep going around the edge. That's fine with me. Now, do I want to wall off this rider completely by like putting the illusionist here and the bruiser here? Or do I want to shove this vizier back over this way? If my leader were a little better positioned, I could actually shove the vizier and do this swap, but the problem is then I do lose. Because as my leader runs, the vizier steps forward and the archer steps forward and it's checkmate. So I can't really do that line. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is just step up like this to not give the rider a 2-square jump. But I think, like, making a wall here is just a little bit too tame. Let's shove the vizier back. This is mostly a defensive move. I'm just trying to give some more space between my leader and his vizier. And the illusionist needs to stay here. I don't want the rider jumping into this square. Especially because if the illusionist moves and the archer steps forward, and then the rider and the archer make it kind of uncomfortable for me. So we'll pass. Keep a centralized illusionist. That could be useful at some point. I'm not sure. And having the assassin here does stop him from forming this wall. So that's good. Actually, oh wait, what am I talking about? No, the wall thing doesn't work because the assassin is the only piece that can touch him, but the assassin is, I guess, another way to counter that wall formation that I showed. Again, that's you just put a protector here, any two pieces here, and the leader here, and only one enemy piece is able to stand in this spot. Okay, my opponent's making a very passive play here. He's moving everything away from my leader, which could be annoying for me to deal with defensively, but it does mean that he's basically sacrificing a lot offensively. There's also a strategic flaw with this line, which is that my Bruiser and Illusionist are now both in open space facing off against his leader. Maybe he's gambling that the Archer in his Vizier, like if I were to step up with the Illusionist and Bruiser, then maybe he's gambling that the Archer in the Vizier would get my leader before I get his leader. That is a possibility. But the Rider and the Protector being used here, that's, you know, that's giving up a lot just to block one assassin. All right, what I'm going to do, it's a little risky, but what I'm going to do here is I am actually just not even going to bother shoving this Vizier. We're going to just go full bore here. And I'm going to use my manipulator to babysit his Vizier. Like this. Something to watch out for, by the way, is the Archer Protector can move and the Rider can get to this square. So he does have some untapped offensive potential here. But I think I can make it. I think I'm fine with it, because if he does like go Archer here, Protector moves, Rider goes here, that kind of a line, I can always just step back with the Bruiser or the Illusionist. And then I can also hide behind my manipulator. Yeah, I think I'm okay with it. Then my assassin gets through, so I'm fine with it. In fact, maybe I should think about this. Should I move the assassin here? Is this a better spot? Because then if he does move the Archer, moves the Protector out of the way, then the Rider goes in, then the assassin can get there. Oh, the assassin can get there anyway. Yeah, no, I think it's fine where it is. So I'm daring my opponent a little bit. I am daring my opponent to move the Archer and the Protector and shove in with the Rider and play a game of who gets there first. Though I don't think it's a game I would personally play in my opponent's shoes, because my opponent's Vizier needs, like if my leader stays put, he needs 1, 2, 3 turns just to touch me. 3 turns with these pieces here facing off against the leader in open space I think is too long. I haven't calculated precisely, but I think it's just too long. And the Rider, well, the Rider is here and he's 1 turn away. Okay, it's a tough one. Then the Bruiser would have to block the Rider or the Illusionist. But then if the Bruiser's doing the blocking, then I'm not checkmating his leader. But then my assassin is moving, right? In order for the Rider to get to this square, he would have to leave this square vacant, which means my assassin gets to go here. I feel like that's dangerous. I don't know. I don't think in my opponent's shoes I would do it. Although in my opponent's shoes I wouldn't have done this. I think if it were me, the correct strategic play would be just to swing the leader over and try to form a wall on this side instead of moving all the pieces that way. Oh, my opponent is going for it. He's going for it. Okay. Respect. Respect the guts. This is actually quite clever here. I can swap. He's putting me in a position where I can swap with his leader, but I can't checkmate. Oh, except I can. Okay. No, I respect this a lot. This takes a lot of guts. So put yourself in a position where you can swap with the Illusionist, and I've had it happen before. I've actually lost games because I could swap with my opponent's leader. I was in checkmate, but then, unfortunately, there was no way to actually checkmate him because when I swapped with his leader, I couldn't get 2 pieces touching him. What he missed, however, is the fact that after swapping with his leader, I can shove him with my Bruiser, and then I don't even need the assassin, and I can just shove him here, and then he's touching my Illusionist. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.